I have been told that there is no tradition here to introduce the speaker. And I think that perhaps it is unfair for you to listen to somebody without knowing a thing about the speaker. So I will tell you something. You will be all satisfied about this. It will be very short. I am a student of Theosophy. Full stop. So you know that I am like you. I'm going to share with you something of my understanding. Please do not call it a lecture. It is neither public nor private lecture. It is a sharing as I am talking with friends. And friends I have many over the world. And everywhere in what we call the free world or the former unfree world, humanity is the same. Very, very curiously, we used to think that in some countries where there used to be absence of freedom, people are different. But it is not true. People, I mean humans, are always the same. Here in England, in France, in former USSR, in Romania, the former bloc of communists, all are humans. So when I address you, the only difference is that I feel free to say a few things if I have some slip over on politics, but I will not do. Because here, I don't have the problem of security. In the former USSR, Russia now modernly called, but basically it is the same. So I will be very cautious in saying something with names. And here I feel free, and you are also free to make your comments later on. So it is rather a sharing between friends. Friends means that we are sympathical, we are sympathizers, and we are kind towards each other. So first of all, I want to bring out something that very, very often we forget. This is the good luck we have to meet with friends in the frame of the Theosophical Society. It is a big fortune that certainly some of you will realize in the future, not at once, because important things always are realized with a little bit of time. So I hope that in the future you will realize that this is a tremendous luck that we have. Probably the luck we have deserved it, because the notion of karma and merit, the both are not unknown in the circle of theosophy. In order to merit, in order to have some luck in some field, we have built up in the past. So all of us, we do have a past, yeah? Individual past, but above all, a human past. And it is tremendous that we have the occasion to explore this together. Now the theme of tonight, is the Dharma of a human being. You would say, there's nothing new. In fact, there's nothing new under the sun. The Dharma, how many times we have heard about this term? It gets used. So, it is Dharma, it is karma, and human being. We are all human beings, aren't we? Or we have some doubt? I don't know. Perhaps. Well, I presume that all of us are human beings here. And first of all, I would like to explore the two things. First, the term Dharma. Second, what is a human being? You see, words that we use and overuse, we lose their meaning. And sometimes it is like a dish that you prepare in the kitchen. You eat it over, and you have the risk of forgetting the composition of it and the real meaning of it. Now, what is Dharma? The term Dharma means everything. Everything which exists in the field of existence, meaning a grain of sand, the sun, an idea, a concept, a philosophy, a teaching, a religion, everything is called Dharma. So the term Dharma here covers everything. Covers from the grossest thing, which is material. I mean, a grain of sand, it is very hard, up to the very subtle thing, which is an idea, a concept, a teaching. Now, on the top of this, Dharma means spiritual teaching, meaning that it is assimilated to religion, but in the true sense of the term. Now, Dharma, this term, you can find it in our seal, the seal of the TS. Yes? This seal, we say, there is no religion higher than truth. There is no Dharma. Because Dharma here is the top, the best, the highest meaning of the term. Okay? We agreed about this. So when we say Dharma, we mean also it is a thing, an idea, a duty, a law, a religion, a spiritual teaching. And on the top of it, it is a spiritual teaching. This is why truth, there is no higher than truth. There is no higher thing, higher teaching than truth. Right? Now coming to the term a human being. What is it, a human being? Oh, we say, okay, we are all shaped with a human shape. And very unfortunately, in our time, there are still a few weird scientists who pretend that you are just a continuity of an ape. I hope that you do not agree. I don't want to be a minority here. Okay? So we are not an improved ape. So what is a human being? You see, a human being has a long past, very long, much longer than we could imagine. I would quote to you a poem by Rumi, the Sufi poet. I suppose that the maximum of people here have known this because it is very well known. I quote, a stone I died and rose again a plant. A plant I died and rose an animal. I died an animal and was born a man. Why should I fear? What have I lost by death? Rumi. Just 4 verses. So this is a resume of our past. All of us, we were a stone, not specifically that one, but in the rain, the kingdom of the mineral. Then a plant, you can be a rose, with or without thorns, but still it is a plant. And then an animal, well, accepted to be a dragon because it is just myth. Anything as an animal. And then a human. I prefer the term human because whenever I used to go to the Eastern European there and even in the United States, whenever I use the word man, I have to add, I want also to say woman. Well, please forgive me, I'm not going to use it anytime. When I pronounce the term man, please add it in your mind, and woman, okay? And generally speaking, I mean human. Why I prefer to use the term man, you will see, I will explain it. Because this is the word coming from the root, the etymological root, which is manas, which is the mind. And it is a specific characteristic of a human. But we come back to this. So then, we have a long past. Very, very long. And what we ignore, that we have a glorious future. We have a glorious future, not in the sense of fanatical, because I am the best, I am of the best ethnic, I am of the best race. No, humanity has a glorious future. And we will also explore this. Now, when we reach the human stage, as Rumi said, I died an animal and was born a man. Okay, it is a big step to be born a human. Very big step. Can you imagine all the paths we have to come through up to here? And not only a man, but not a man as a human, as at the prehistoric time. A man who thinks, really thinks. Now we will explore this, what is thinking and what is the characteristic of a human being by passing. Now, yet, a human being, do we have just the shape of it? Or is a human being just a body like we are wearing here? Or it is more? I pretend and I assume and I state and I confirm that we are more than our shape. Well, up to you to accept. But you better accept. Because in the long run, you cannot accept that you are just a shape of a human. Okay? So then, what action makes us a human? Makes a human to be a real human? I will explore 3 aspects of it. The first aspect will pertain to the mind. Every human would have a mind. I will prepare the other ones because it is also very important if I lose the other piece of paper. Okay? So the first aspect pertains to the mind. The second aspect will pertain to one's duty, one's action on earth. And then the third aspect is the discovering of really what is behind all this. So let us take what action makes a human a human. You know that every one of us has got a mind. True or not? Say yes, please. Yes. So every one of us has got a mind, for sure. Now there's a difference. Do we use it or we don't use it? It is like I have a car, right? And most of the time the car is in the garage because I don't use it. I prefer walking. So the mind is the same. Everyone got a mind, but do we use it? Now the first aspect, which will indicate to us what kind of action will make a human, it is that we have a mind, of course, but it is a small bit of mind. It is not the mind, glorious, illuminating as the sun. We have a little bit of mind, because we start to learn how to think. Okay, over there? You agree with me, Michael? Yes. My old friend over there, over 30 years. Okay, so we got the mind, but still we have to build it up. We build it up. It is like, well, if I want to use the term, traditional term in theosophy, classical, very firm, I said millions and millions of years ago, some of the heavenly beings He given us this manas, mind. They are the manas saputra. He gave it us, the mind. But what are we going to do with that? You remember the parable of the talent in the Gospels? God gave a talent and then we bury it. We just wait until time passes, and then when God asks, I have given you the talent, what have you made about it? Unbury the talent, give it back to God. Nothing changed. It is not like that. It is not like that because our Dharma means that we have a thing to do, a duty, an obligation, moral, occult to do, is to build up these talents that the Divine gave us. We have received it. Once we have received it, we have to work on it and build it up. It means that everyone got a mind. But what mind? What mind? If we don't work on the mind, if we don't build on the mind, build up to refine it, to make it functioning, operational, then after some time we will fall in the trap of fanaticism. Repeating, dogmatism, because we want to have the imposing our point of view, etc. But building up the mind means we build the mind given by the Manasaputra, and we have to learn to reason. What is reasoning? Reasoning means to weigh things, to measure, and in fact, in the term manas, the origin is ma, it means to measure. So manas is, we build up the manas, the mind, meaning we learn how to measure, how to think, how to reason. And through the reasoning, then we can make the difference, we discern between, first of all, right and wrong, and then up to the point that we can discern between the unreal and the real. If you have not read yet this small jewel called At the Feet of the Master, please do it. Please do it, because it is a kind of map for us in life. Yeah? Just not apply, but read it and understand it. Because it is like a footnote here, I would say. At the Feet of the Master is a condensation of the Vivekachudamani. It is just 2 chapters, right? And the Vivekachudamani by Shankaracharya is really a resume, a summary of the Upanishads, the main. Okay? So just read that and you will find the essence, the quintessence of the Upanishad. So then we learn to reason, and by reasoning we would find out something tremendous. We would say, okay, I'm 14, I'm 16, I'm 17, whatever, I am 70, no problem. I start to reason. I find that how life is. I mean, life cannot be just by chance. It would be an absurdity that somebody was born, developed to be an adult, make children, and then have a career, and then die. And you can explain whatever you want. It turned out to be an absurdity. Because there is no acceptable to the intelligence to see why is it. You see? So there is the past and there is the future. We are in the middle. We reason and we say, there must be something. There must be something. And this thing, when we accept, then this is the first step of the spiritual life. This first step is the acceptance that there is a plan in the whole universe, and this plan is evolution. And this plan, which is evolution, is the divine plan. If you still feel like to use the word God, then use it. I don't mind. But I prefer to use the word divine because it is a quality of the Supreme, and it means that thing which is shining. To div is to shine. You see, the shining, and this is the characteristic of the Supreme, so the Divine, instead of saying God, because this term is misused in many, many ways. So then by reasoning, by observation of nature, of our own lives, we can accept, this is the first step, it is the acceptance that evolution is the divine plan. And then when we accept that, the second step is that how I can do to participate, because it is really too beautiful, too great. I'm not going to be next to it. It is normal for an intelligent person to come and to participate. And then the third step is that when we would like to participate, then we learn how to let oneself to be guided inwardly, by intuition, be guided by our own understanding, not by an understanding by somebody else. It does not work. We have to assimilate and understand, and when we have understood, then we apply. If we understand and we don't apply, then it is not understanding. It is pretension. Sorry, perhaps I will lose some friends here. Well, anyhow, so don't mind, we are friends. So this is the main thing. First step, accept. Second, then try to work with and have the wish to participate. And the third thing is to do it, to do really. So at that stage, we see that working with the reasoning, trying to reason, the mind will grow. The mind will grow and will mature. It is maturing in discernment. Discernment, because when the mind is mature, nobody can say stories and then lies to it. We see at once there is something absurd there. Huh? You are not going to pretend that this you have to do it. It is the best. I reason and I find out for myself. So this is to learn by really applying one's own understanding and by using also self-consciousness. What is that? Self-consciousness is that this is very, very important at the step of the human being. You see all animals, no animals say I. Your cat, when it is hungry, it just goes and meow and say, well, but it does not have any sign to say I am hungry. The I is specific to the human being. So this is the self-consciousness. And this self-consciousness is a friend, very precious, and also an enemy. Because if we don't use it and make a next step, then it turns out to be an obstacle. Why? Because this self-consciousness, if we use it in the right way, it turns out to be a kind of clear observation of oneself and turn out to be clear self-awareness. We see everything happening in our own psyche. And we cannot, as we have said in an introduction to this lecture, that we are not going to argue on freedom just to conceal our ignorance. We are not going to argue to justify our action, because we see it with clarity whenever it is right or it is wrong. Do you follow? Okay. Well, somebody is sleeping, but never mind. I will speak to his also psyche. Well, anyhow, so it is important that we have to be clear in mind when we start to argue, using the notion of freedom to justify our action, which we have seen as wrong. Okay? Yes? Say yes. Yes. Okay. So then this is to master the mind. It is very important. If we don't have the mind mastered, we will continue to live as teenagers. And we are, all of us, at a certain moment, have the behavior of teenagers in the physical body. And it is a pity, because we have infinite infinity in front of us, and a teenager is there. It is like walking at the same place. Huh? So, and then, at the last step of this, the mind can be transcended, meaning that we use the mind, but we no longer belong to the mind. We use it, but it is a vehicle for us. It is like our car, to be used to go to the market, to go everywhere we want, but not the car using us. Okay? So this is, the last step. But parallel to it, in parallel to this, there are two other aspects. This aspect of the duty, the aspect of duty, because we have reasoning, we have reason, we have learned to reason, we have learned to mature the mind, but it does not give us the authorization to ignore our duties. One cannot say, okay, it is very good, I'm mature, and so I leave my parents to their own fate. I leave whatever it will burden you, you will leave it, and you say, because I have to mature the mind. It does not work. Somewhere in our psyche, we know that it is not right. So this second aspect, in parallel to the first one, is to fulfill our own duties in the human society. We have a role to play, and then, meaning that by fulfilling our duties, we perform something which is the concern for the others. Okay? Otherwise, we live for ourselves only. Huh? It is my right, it is my freedom, it is, of course, you have the right. But I remember very well one of the past president, Mrs. Bernier, when we started to have members in Eastern Europe, somebody pop up and say, what right do we have to be a member? And she answered very drastically, she said, you don't have any rights, you have duties. It is true. So we want always to have rights. But the rights, yes, we have. But at the same time, if we don't fulfill our duties, we turn to be monsters of egoism. And we don't want it. Monsters are not humans, although they wear the same shape. Okay? So by fulfilling our duties, we reach the others. We fulfill the concern with others, and then out of service, we can discover this is very beautiful thing, which is the oneness of humanity. We are one. Despite the fact that we see each other like separate things. But when you understand something, you have humanity to understand it. When I understand something, I have the whole humanity to understand it. Meaning that we are the whole common account, where this is the universal mind. You put everything in it. And so there is no effort lost, because you have the endeavor, you have the effort, you do something, and you have humanity by understanding. And then through this, oneness of humanity, and at the same time, oneness of consciousness. It is not your consciousness, it is not my consciousness, it is just consciousness which is moving all the time. And when you understand something, when I speak to you now, it is the one consciousness moving. Okay? It is not my consciousness saying, but the whole is moving together. Then the third aspect of this, and in parallel, it is difficult because language cannot show it simultaneously. So I say 1, 2, 3, but it is all of a sudden at the same time. So the third aspect is to discover the powers inherent in consciousness. Consciousness has tremendous powers. And of course, if I say that, everyone said, yes, what powers? I'm very interested. Tell me, tell me. Yes, there are powers. Some of them are hidden, and some of them are obvious. So of course, hidden powers inherent to consciousness, we call it siddhis. the siddhis, meaning the occult powers. You see, for example, you have read the Gospels, you have read that at a certain time Jesus walked over the water. It is one of the siddhis. Many stories, and not only in the Gospels. Well, I look at Michael, so I think about the Gospels, but there are many much literature talking about these siddhis, and it is not only this part. Consciousness has also tremendous powers. One of these really terrifying, awful, and I would say wonderful power is the power of self-knowing. Consciousness can come to know itself. Start to say I, and then it starts to say, is it real? And the cat cannot say I, so it cannot say I am perhaps unreal. You see the difference? So this absolute power of consciousness is to come to the point of self-knowing. Consciousness knows itself when it is moving. And this self-knowledge, when we start for good, unavoidably it will lead us to wisdom. The wisdom not only of the humans, which is the wisdom of shrewdness, of dealing things in life, etc., to be clever, to deal with things, but the wisdom of the gods, the wisdom which is divine, because it is inbuilt in us. Otherwise, we cannot find it. How can you find something external to yourself? It turned out to be absurd. It is inbuilt, it is hidden so far, but you can find it and you discover it. So, I would say the human mind is destined to be the conscious recipient of the divine wisdom. Going through all this, it comes to discover that it is not only an individual, a person, which is a petty thing. So then, by really using all this, the above mentioned, we apply with right endeavor. You know what is endeavoring? To make the effort, to endeavor. The endeavoring with right endeavor. What is right? You would say, there is a wrong endeavor. Yes, there is a wrong endeavor. When there is ambition, it is wrong endeavor. And endeavoring is the effort without effort. Let the effort you apply not to get the ego stronger. Because the whole process of discovering one's own Dharma is to spot out where is the little ego to make it disappear. Otherwise, if the effort is made and year after year and then the ego will get inflated, there is no way to, it is the contrary. So endeavoring is the effort without effort when it is right. So human can fulfill the Dharma, as I have suggested, of a human in the true sense of the term, meaning learning, applying and going further, and so doing, such a human alleviates his own conditions, meaning that he was living in the state of suffering. Understanding will get the suffering lesser and lesser up to the point that when the ego diminishes, there is less suffering. Okay? So then, and then by doing all this, it will alleviate its own conditions, and by cooperating with the divine plan and work with it, it can fulfill its glorious future. And our future is really glorious. We are now at the state that the humans cease to be a human. When the Dharma of human is fulfilled completely, then there is an open door, wide open in space, to receive this human in the field of consciousness so that this consciousness can participate and contribute in another way, on another plane, perhaps with another kingdom. We don't know. Don't ask questions about it. If you have questions, please be limited in the notion of Dharma, of a human being. I hope that I have talked with you as with friends, and it wasn't a lecture. Okay? And if we talk with friends, then the friends will take it seriously and consider it and take it in life and say, life is something serious. It is not something that we can take casually. I mean, it is, life is, it is not a kind of sport. Go at the weekend. It must be, it is worth to give endeavor in the right way, and every endeavoring in this sense is blessed. The Rig Veda say, blessed is the effort, blessed is enterprise, blessed is real effort, blessed is effort. And this kind of effort without effort is always blessed. Not by some God outside, but from the inner core of ourselves. This is the core of the divine, and the divine is always helping and blessing those who would take the courage to walk on this pilgrimage, to realize this glory. It is the glory also of the divine. It is our glory at the end of the road. And there's no end for the road, because the road will continue. And this is the mystery, this is a wonder, and we wait until we reach this point to explore more. And I cannot tell you more. Okay? So, thank you for your attention.